Welcome to the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Torelli-Smith, and I'm honored to sit down with Christopher Helfrich, the president and CEO of the Eat, Learn, Play Foundation. This nonprofit was created by Stephen and Ayesha Curry with a passion to unlock the potential of every child. For the past 5 years, Eat, Learn, Play has made a tremendous impact across 3 pillars, investing over $72 million to serve Oakland's kids and families, including delivering more than 25 million meals, investing $6 million in literacy programs, revitalizing 17 schools and community play spaces, and so much more. Eat, Learn, Play invests millions into initiatives aimed at ending childhood hunger, improving education, and creating safe places for children to play. Christopher's leadership has been a driving force behind these efforts, and today he shares insights into how they are tackling systematic issues to create lasting change. Before joining Eat, Learn, Play, Christopher had a remarkable career as a social entrepreneur and nonprofit leader, including his time as a CEO of the Starlight Children's Foundation, where he spearheaded groundbreaking initiatives. With a heart dedicated to improving the lives of children and families, Christopher's journey is a testament to the power of innovation, collaboration, and community. In this episode, we will explore his inspiring work and learn how we all can contribute to creating a better future for kids everywhere. Christopher, welcome to the podcast.
I'm humbled by that introduction, but I'm so happy to be here, Melissa.
Oh my goodness,
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here and you've earned every word of it. Your career really has been dedicated to helping kids and families in need. I'm curious what first sparked this passion for philanthropy. Like, where did it all start for you?
It's a great question. I mean, I've been asked this question a couple of times, and it's actually become a little bit clearer to me. But it started at home, and it kind of started in and around the time I was in high school. Okay. I think there was a couple of things, right? One, my parents, when I was a junior, senior in high school, over the course of a couple of years, adopted 3 kids into our family. Like, they were teenagers too, from some difficult, challenging, and sad situations, right? And so for me, at that impressionable time in my life, to have a front row seat to see my parents, sort of, as an ultimate sacrifice, right? Wow. To be able to. For my dad, it's delaying his retirement by many years, and for my mom, she did everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I think is like the real hero in that story. Mm-hmm. And they brought these 3 kids who are now my 2 brothers and a sister, brought them into our family just totally equal. So I grew up the third of 4 boys. Now I'm the third of 7, and to be a part of that. And to see the sacrifices from my parents and what that meant was big. But also, I was actually reflecting recently, the high school where I was attending, they really beat it into our heads, this motto, like, your best self for the common good.
Oh, that's a great motto.
Yeah, totally. And, and then it's weird, but I vividly remember and was really moved by, like, the graduation speaker in high school who, like, that speech was about what will you do with what you know? And so at this time in my life, right, where it is impressionable in your brain, sort of, I'm like beginning to wake up to the world and think beyond just, girls and my friends and sports. It, like, all of these things sort of coalesced in, like, this, being taught, right? Like, man, like, serving others, or if you have some privilege, how will you use it to help others? Like, that was really the beginning for me. And then into college, that's really when it started getting clearer to me that, like, my motivations are much more, like, mission oriented. As I thought about careers and what to do, I was motivated far less by, like, the consulting track or the finance track, which are also great careers, and was more motivated by just feeling really good myself about what I did. So that was the beginning for me of realizing that this was probably like in some shape or form, the space for me.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much because I think when we feel inspired, we do inspired work. And you've just done such inspiring work over your career. Eat, Learn, Play is about, more than just meeting the basic needs. It's about giving kids a chance to dream. Can you describe the pillars of Eat, Learn, Play?
Yeah, no, and I love the way that you put that. It is like, I think that Eat, Learn, Play has a big imagination, but it's all about like giving Oakland kids the best, right? A community that in a lot of ways is a little bit down on its luck, or it's a community where right now there's, an overall kind of lack of joy. How can we fill that vacuum and give kids, do what we can to give kids the childhoods that they deserve? But these 3 pillars, these were the ones that like, Stephen and Ayesha were non-negotiables when we started Eat, Learn, Play. The Eat pillar comes from Ayesha. She'd been fighting childhood hunger for years. Like in Oakland right now, 39% of kids live in food insecure households. So if you're going to school hungry, like how are you going to be able to access your coursework and thrive? So we do what we can to make sure Oakland kids have the nutritious food that they need. Our Learn pillar, was the Curry's recognition that education has to be in the center of it all. It took us a while to figure out like where we could have the most authentic role and the greatest impact in the education space. Over the last 3-4 years, it's become early childhood literacy. And like you can draw a straight line, Melissa, between like a kid's ability to read well at the end of the 3rd grade and success in school and success in their careers. And while we know this to be true across America, actually, but in Oakland, like the majority of kids are below grade level in reading. So we're kind of trying to do everything we can, moving to heaven and earth to get kids to be reading at the right ages. And then our play pillar is all about making sure that, kids have access to safe places to play, the opportunities to participate in youth sports, because like play is such a fundamental part of character development in kids. But if you go to Oakland right now, like kids are not able to, in a lot of the areas, especially the flatlands where we do most of our work, like their parents aren't letting them run free in the neighborhoods, and the park systems in Oakland, like so many of them are not as safe as they need to be for kids to be able to play. And so we're trying to do everything we can to create safe places for kids to play and to make youth sports accessible. But like when you put all these 3 things together, and what the Currys sort of had great foresight into is like these interconnected issues when put together are kind of key ingredients to a happy, healthy childhood. And that's what we're trying to bring to a generation of kids.
Yeah, when I was preparing for this conversation, I was thinking back to when my kids were young and what was important to me as a parent. And I almost was brought to tears, like thinking about other children not having healthy food or not being able to be read to by their parents or then to read to their parents. And then going to the park was like an every day, if not, every week occurrence. So starting with that eating pillar, can you tell me like a firsthand how providing a meal has changed a child's life? How you've seen that?
Oh, that's a great question. And Eat, Learn, Play, we kind of came of age, leading into the pandemic and through the pandemic, feeding the community. So I still am fortunate enough to hear stories, monthly from Oakland families telling us their stories about, Eat, Learn, Play, the work we worked with like 130 restaurants during the pandemic that had closed down, like bring them back along. We did this alongside Jose Andres and World Central Kitchen, but it's like, how can we provide millions of not just meals, like basic meals or turkey sandwiches wrapped in cellophane? It's like, no, we hired local restaurants to be preparing like great restaurant meals. And then those were the meals we were providing to kids and families who were hungry. So it was like, it was an everyday thing for the first couple of years. But when we started out at Eat, Learn, Play, the first thing we did was, help to send thousands of kids to summer camps in Oakland. And part of our support for this was not only kids being able to go to summer camp for free, but we like seriously leveled up the meals that these kids would get
I
at
love
camp.
that.
So like, like fresh fruit every morning and at lunch as part of like breakfast and lunch. And the feedback that we got from these kids, and these kids were part of our launch of Eat, Learn, Play, and witnessing that, right? And letting kids experience fresh produce like every day for the first time. Like it was special, and definitely gave us the indication, okay, we're on the right track, and this is not something that we can let up on.
Yeah, absolutely not. Because also you hope that in the future they want to feed their kids healthy foods, and they want to make healthy choices. Like it goes way beyond you providing that meal at camp. You hope that it inspires them as they grow older to want to feed themselves well, and they see the benefits of doing that. And the only way that they would have had those meals is if you provided them. And so I love that pillar. When I was researching a little bit, there is a direct link between literacy and breaking the cycle of poverty. What does it mean to give a child the gift of reading, and how does that, shape their future?
I mean, I think you can think about literacy, like learning to read, as kind of a civil rights issue of our time. When you look at prison populations in America, right, the vast majority of prisoners in the U.S. are functionally illiterate. In fact, third grade reading levels are like a key data point that prison systems in the U.S. use to predict future inmate populations. And so it kind of almost makes me sick to think about that, and how, your future in so many ways is already kind of determined by the time you're, 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big thing for us in America right now. I know I touched on it a little bit earlier. Only 1 in 3 kids in this country are reading at grade level by the end of the third grade. So it's like, what's the future for this country? Right. And then for children of color in Oakland, 85% of them are below grade level reading in elementary school, and 40% are 3 or more grade levels behind. And so it's just, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
But we take that sort of frustration and anger out on like, okay, what can we do to help? So we've done a ton of listening to the community and researching like what are the interventions, where we could have an impact on tens of thousands of kids. And when we talk to experts and when we talk to parents, like what came back, Melissa, was tutoring, right? Like, and when you think about it, it's actually not that surprising. It's like if one of your 2 kids is struggling in school, or one of mine, like I know that we would do everything we could to give them the support they need to catch up or to get ahead. But for, tens of thousands of kids in Oakland, like those resources don't exist. And so, we came in with this bold vision or this bold question, say, what would it look like to get like great tutoring for every kid in the school district who's behind grade level in reading? The challenge is it's so expensive, and it's so expensive that Oakland Public Schools had never even, dared to create a strategy for comprehensive tutoring.
Yeah.
But they have now with us. And then we've made this commitment to, doing everything we can to make sure that Oakland kids who are behind have access to tutoring, including like a recent $25 million commitment we made over the next several years to provide like one-on-one year-long professional support to 10,000 students who are furthest behind in reading. It's a big swing that we're taking. But if we get it right, so many lives will be changed. And then hopefully we can wake up the city, the state, and ultimately the country to like, we can solve this, right? Like we can solve this literacy crisis. And, we just also have the founders and Stephen and Ayesha with the voices where like, if we get this right, then they're really well positioned to be key advocates on this issue. So that's a little bit how we're thinking about it. But I don't think there's anything more important than we're doing right now at Eat, Learn, Play than making this big bet on being able to, ensure every kid in Oakland has the support they need to become great readers.
Well, and I think it has a ripple effect for the future of Oakland, because, those children who will be literate and will hopefully go on to college will come back and support the community and help the community. It's all goes round and round. So I love that you focus on Oakland, because I know for years to come, those kids will be affected, and then they'll come back and affect other kids, because you helped them. You started that ripple effect in the community. Talking about community, going to play spaces or parks or playground, it goes beyond just going to play. It's social. The kids need to feel safe, and they usually do. But in Oakland, they don't. Can you speak to that pillar and the importance of those safe play spaces?
Yeah. You started talking about it, like playgrounds and these schoolyards that we do. They're places where kids can play and learn and grow and use their imaginations and form friendships, right? When we started this work, like the schoolyards, like the campuses at elementary schools throughout Oakland, but especially in the Flatlands, like they look more like prison yards than they do like great spaces for kids to go every day. Blacktops, fences, and like an old play structure, and then some basketball hoops. And so we've been on this movement, and it's grown over the last couple of years to totally reimagine what these spaces can be. And then we get together with the school community, the kids, the teachers, the parents, and we ask them, like, if you could start from scratch and dream big, what would your like dream schoolyard look like? And then we work with our partners and we bring those to life. And they're pretty extraordinary. Right now, we just a couple weeks ago around NBA All-Star Weekend finished our 17th schoolyard.
So awesome.
And these are like these like $1 million builds where we put in a lot of the money, and then OUSD, the school district, matches some of our funding. But like we're putting in like kid designed huge play structures. We're removing like acres of asphalt, which get really hot and
Right.
just it brings the temperature of the schoolyard up. And we're replacing them with like nature exploration areas. We're getting like down redwoods and eucalyptus. And,
I love that
and
so
creating
much.
like these
Oh my
amazing.
God, I love that so much.
Yeah, they're like, they're incredible. And you see the kids like they use them as outdoor classrooms, or kids are like jumping from log to log. We're planting at this site we did our 17th schoolyard at East Oakland Pride. We planted 1,300 trees, bushes, and shrubs in a schoolyard that had one tree that was alive before we started. And so we're building soccer pitches because soccer's the most popular sport, and we're building like these multi-sport basketball courts that are great for kids. And then we also hire like local professional artists to do hundreds of yards of muraling in these schoolyards at all these schools too. So it's the idea is like, if you were to go to Alamo or Lafayette or Atherton or Palo Alto, like the schoolyards that you would expect kids to have there, we try to do that in Oakland, but even better, right? Because we feel like that's what these kids deserve. And because, there is a school that we recently remodeled, our 15th Oakland Reach Academy. And to hear the principal talk about it, she did say like, kids can't play freely in the streets anymore. The parks aren't safe for our kids to be. So schools exist as like the only places, sadly, for a lot of these kids in Oakland, like where they can play safely and be kids. And so that's why we're focused in schools in this area, because like at least we can give kids the very best when they're at school every day.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure it creates a lot of hope for them too. Kids are very aware of their circumstance. Kids who are affluent are aware. Kids who are not are very aware. And when people invest in them and they have places to go, it just really, to me, is so hopeful for them.
It's such a good observation.
Yeah.
Right? There's two things that I'll say to that. One is, when we remodeled a schoolyard a couple of years ago, it was at Lockwood Steam in Oakland. It was our biggest one that we had done to date. We did a big, great unveil, and the Currys were there, and we basically like created a field day for the kids over. Like they showed up, surprise, no school today. We're going to play all day
fun.
with Stephen and Ayesha.
Oh my gosh.
And there was this, I think she was a second grader, but a teacher found one of her second graders crying and asked her why. And this girl, essentially said that she's so sad that she's going to have to change schools. And she said, what are you talking about? Why? She goes, this has to be for other kids. This can't possibly be for me.
That's so sad.
Right. And yeah, it hits you really hard. But what these schoolyards are, us, to your point, Melissa, like telling kids, no, you do deserve this. This is what you deserve. And going back to the Curry piece, the second point I want to make is because of the work that Eat, Learn, Play is doing, with the Curry's leadership, you now have like 35,000 kids in Oakland schools who all feel seen and loved by Stephen and Ayesha. And they are, right? Like all of these kids are having these moments. And so for this generation to be able to grow up feeling connected to, the Bay Area's best, it's, I don't know if you can quantify that, but it's pretty special.
I'm so excited to share today's sponsor, Vitality Bowls. Not only is it our go-to restaurant for clean, allergy-free acai bowls, smoothies, wraps, salads, paninis, and more, all made with organic granola and organic acai, but it's also an incredible franchise opportunity. With over 70 locations nationwide, Vitality Bowls offers entrepreneurs a chance to own a business that prioritizes health, quality, and community impact. Plus, Vitality Bowls is giving my listeners an exclusive discount of $1,000 off the initial franchise fee. Just email franchise@vitalitybowls.com and mention the Savvy Giving Gal podcast for more details. I mean, it is really special. So I have to ask, because working with Stephen and Ayesha Curry just must be so incredible. And, like you said, I mean, they are doing such incredible work. How do you think celebrity involvement changes how nonprofits operate or raise awareness?
It's a great question, and it's probably not a simple answer. Well, it's not one size fits all, right? But we are like we've got a lot of momentum right now. Like I can say, humbly, right? And a lot of that momentum comes because of the voice, the resources, the platforms, and the networks that the Currys have. Like that has absolutely been able to supercharge us, and I think that that's available to a lot of celebrities, right? Who have platforms. And if they want to do them for good, use their platforms for good, like the Currys, then you can go places fast. But I'll say, the Currys are also unique, right? They say, don't meet your heroes. Like I think the Currys are absolutely exceptions to that. Like they are like two of the all-time like great and most generous and like present, grace-filled people that I've ever met. And so, we're lucky amongst those like quote unquote celebrity charities to have them, because it's just, they're different.
Yeah. It is such a blessing to have this celebrity and, this excitement and these people who want to get involved with them. How do you stay focused on the message? Like, how do you keep, even though everybody's super excited about them and they are so genuine, and I've obviously seen them in the community and you can feel it, it's palpable, but how do you keep people focused on the message and what's really important and what you're fighting for?
Yeah. This is an area where we've struggled over the last 5-6 years at getting good at this. We have no shortage of opportunities to do work in, across the Bay Area or across the country. People come to me and to us all the time, or they'll come to us saying, "Oh, we've got $1 million that we want to give you." I say, "Well, that's great, but we want you to do math, or we want you to do STEM, or we want you to do theater." And it's like, all of these things are great and they're important, but they're not what we do, right? And so to go in these other directions and chase these opportunities or these donations, it's counterproductive to what we need to be laser focused on working on. And so, we've just had to be good at having our conviction and saying no to opportunities that, are attractive to say yes to it. It's like, you know what, like we are working on these issues and here's why. And if you want to be a part of that and what we're doing, like we have such open arms. Like we would love for you to be a part of it and feel some ownership over our work. But if you're going to try to take us in a different direction that we're not ready for right now, like we're just respectfully direct with folks and say, you know, I'm sorry.
So, you know, if someone listening can't write $1 million check, you know, how can they get involved in Eat, Learn, Play, you know, at a grassroots level?
This is an area where we've gotten great over the last number of years. The volunteer piece, right? We have the most fun volunteer engagements I think I've seen from a nonprofit. These schoolyards that we remodel, like we've been talking about, they take like 6 months, 12 months of planning. But they all come together over the course of like these 3 amazing, like what we call build days. And we get hundreds of volunteers from the community, from the school community, from our donors and partners. Everybody comes together over the course of a couple of days and like puts in like a real honest day's work. You know, you're shoveling mulch or mixing cement or building garden beds or planting flowers, like painting murals. Like, you know, we sort of can do paint by numbers with them.
I'd be horrible at that.
It's hard to mess up.
I'm just joking.
And then the professional artists, like they come in and, you know, you see your flower painted over the next day. But But like the volunteers are what drive this. And we get the warriors or we get DJs to come out and do it and local restaurants come. So it's more of an event or a party, but it's awesome. And we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to do more. So the need to have more volunteers is big. It's important. And again, it costs nothing, but it's a fulfilling experience.
Yeah, I think that would be really awesome to see something like that come to fruition. And especially, as you mentioned, seeing the kids then come and enjoy it. I think for me, that would be just such a special moment to know that this is something they could use for a lifetime. Well, obviously while they're in elementary school, but still to them, that's a lifetime, you know, that feels like forever.
And there's a generation of kids behind them, but you heard it.
Yeah.
We have 6 more schoolyard builds this year. And so Melissa will be out at least one of them.
Yes, I'm going to be painting. I'm going to try I'm going to try that part.
We're going to document it. But yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's that experience of watching kids play on these schoolyards for the first time and just, holy cow, I can't believe this is for me.
Right.
But then there's just when you're sweating and like putting in the work.
Yeah.
You can even imagine that, right? Like it's just, you know that you're doing something good for, you know, a generation of kids, and it's just, it's pure and it's great.
Yeah. And, you know, this is such a tight community. Like Oakland is not far from where we live. And so to know that you're making an impact locally, you know, obviously I think global initiatives are great. I think national initiatives are great. But when you can see the fruits of your labor in your backyard practically, I think there's something really special to that. And I think philanthropy should start in your local community. That's just my opinion.
No, I couldn't, no disagreeing, right? Yeah, I've worked in global health. I've worked on national issues, but there's something magical about starting in your backyard. And the sad reality is like the inequities that exist, you know, within the Bay Area are extreme, right? And there are neighbors that don't have much. And, you know, it's a 20-minute drive to go down and help and do some real good.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Feeling good inside and out is so important to me, and that's why I love shopping eCosmetics. They offer the best in beauty from all of the top brands with great prices, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. It's my go-to for everything beauty. Head over to ecosmetics.com and use my code SAVVY25. That's SAVVY25 at checkout to get 25% off your purchase. Hey, travel lovers, it's Melissa. Traveling with my family to explore new cultures brings me so much joy. And all business class travel can make it even better with their top-notch personalized service. Use promo code SAVVY, that's SAVVY, to get complimentary Black Car airport transfers. All business class travel makes it easy to focus on what really matters, cherished memories. Visit allbusinessclass.com and start planning your next incredible journey. Speaking about community and home, you're not only a philanthropist and a CEO, you're a husband and a father. So as a dad, what values do you hope to instill in your own children when it comes to giving and helping others?
It's a great question, right? And for, obviously I'm passionate about what I do, and I try to pass that passion on to my kids. You might not be surprised, like they are not always the most receptive audience, right? So like, it's what dad does. Like, it's the last thing I want. So like with each of my kids, it's been a different journey. My son I have a son who's in 9th grade, and he's finally turned, like he's doing leadership in school.
Oh, that's great.
He's joined some like outside organizations that are service oriented. So like, it feels like the light bulb is starting to go on with him. We've got a middle son who's just naturally so generous, but like, we'll eventually get some structure in there, but he loves helping people, right? Aww. He's donated his birthday, like, proactively numerous times. And then our daughter, who's in 5th grade, like she's a pretty sweet, naturally generous person, but she's not there yet. Like she's lovely. And so we hope we hope that comes, but just because of my job, I haven't found that my kids, are like, yes, we do service too. Like we're trying to figure out how to engage them authentically, and it's not a one size fits all, I'm finding.
Yeah, I agree. I think my kids think they just get points because of me sometimes. They're like, my mom's volunteering, so I volunteer. But I also think back to your original story, and your parents, and sometimes these things, I'm going to believe, don't come to fruition until later. I mean, look at all the good that you've done as an adult. I think that those things stay with us, and knowing your parents were the good-hearted people and generous and philanthropic people they were, maybe our children can't help but be that way.
I hope so. Yeah. You're giving me. I agree. Like, I mean, hopefully, I'm inspiring my kids, even if they won't be inspired
for years to come,
for 5 or 6 years.
What advice would you give other parents who want to raise compassionate, service-minded kids?
Show them the world. I think is a big one. Like, don't there's a tendency to, I think, want to protect our kids. And keep them in a bubble, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's safe. But I think kids have to see it, have to feel it, and also kind of come face to face with their own privilege. If they are from a privileged family, not in a way where they feel guilty,
right? But
in a way where it's okay, like I have privilege now. Again, what will I do with what I know, or what will I do with what I have? I think that's a key piece. Just educating and opening kids' eyes to the world outside of their own community. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think that parents should take their kids into Oakland, into San Francisco, into Concord, into places where they may be a little bit nervous to take them, but in organized situations like Eat, Learn, Play, where you're building a playground, you are safe. And it is important that your kids are around other kids who are different than them.
Totally. Yeah. So what? Yeah. So let me ask you. I mean, how do you?
You're asking.
how do you? I mean, how do you tackle that? I mean, what have you done with your kids?
I take them everywhere. I mean, every nonprofit in inner city San Francisco. I mean, I'm not afraid to show them things that may affect them, initially. And then we have a conversation, because I think having that conversation and opening that door to that conversation is super important, because my kids are affluent, they are privileged, and they don't realize sometimes, unless they see it, the problems and the solutions. I want them to be like you, to be someone who comes up with solutions, I mean, not just someone who goes and volunteers, and that's fine, but come up with solutions, because everybody has the ability to help. Like, yes, we are not the Currys, and we cannot give millions of dollars, but you can change a child's life. Everybody can do that. So that's kind of, I mean, my kids are very sick of me, though. I will say, they're very sick of my, telling them this all the time, but I think we have a responsibility as parents to raise the next generation of change makers. And so I'm very crazy about that.
Well, and now you have me almost thinking that the roles that, and we're probably going off script, but the roles that like fine. Our community can play in teaching and raising our kids as well. Like when our voices aren't as, when they don't land as well with our kids, like what role do we have, you know, just with our family friends, with your nieces and nephews?
Absolutely.
Like what roles do teachers play? It is interesting to think about the different voices that probably need to be in kids' ears for, you know, that light bulb to go on.
Yes. And I think they listen to other people. Like when my kids see you do something and you do something for Steph Curry, I mean, it really does matter. I think back to that celebrity, you know, kids are enamored, but there is something else that comes along with that. In that if they see this person they respect doing this work, then they'll think twice about it, you know. If their mom does it, they don't really care. But but if Steph and Ayesha Curry do it, and so I have so much respect for them for so many reasons. But I really feel like they're a great example to my own children in my own home all the time.
It's such a cool observation, and you're totally right. Yeah. I mean, Steph and Ayesha, like they have the world at their fingertips. Like they could do anything, and yet they choose time and time and time again to come spend hours and days, you know, just hanging out with and serving kids in Oakland. Yeah. And they do stuff beyond that too. It speaks to how they, I think, like use the power of their platforms to like to amplify, to inspire others.
Yeah, and they don't have to do that. You know, they could just go on with their lives and be fabulous and, you know, and not do that. But the fact that they rally and do that and then rally their friends who have money, and you need funds to do these kind of things. That's just the bottom line. Like you can have as much heart as you possibly can, but it's awesome to put some funds behind it because look what you've been able to do.
Yeah, no, and again, when we were building this thing in Alamo, California, right? Yeah. Right around their dinner table, one of their first promises was that they would forever fund all of our administrative and fundraising overhead costs, so that every dollar that comes into Eat, Learn, Play goes directly back out into the community, into the organizations we support and the programs that we run. And they just realize like they have this convening power, right? So like, you know, we're not keeping the money that people donate, but we have the ability to bring people together to like tackle these big issues. And yeah, I mean, they put their money where their mouth is in a big way. I
love this. Okay. So what's next for Eat, Learn, Play, or for you?
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
You know, God willing. Yeah. What's next for Eat, Learn, Play? You know, I will, what I didn't, you know, I've talked a little bit about some of our initiatives, but a couple of years ago, we made a major strategic shift that's been super helpful in terms of us being able to have maximum impact. And that was this decision to focus on improving the public school experience for kids in Oakland. Not because that's an easy path or a sexy path, like the opposite, but it's like it's where 35,000 kids go to eat, learn, and play every day, and with outcomes that aren't nearly good enough, right? And so what we're all about and what we're gonna like continue doing exponentially in the future is like wrapping our arms around these kids where they go every single day. And so what's next for us? Like it's making sure every schoolyard, you know, in Oakland is top of the line, because that's what kids deserve. It's, you know, the literacy tutoring, like not resting until this city becomes a national model for how we can, you know, change literacy rates and create these strong, confident readers. It's the nutrition side, right? Like, how do we get those food insecurity numbers down so that no kid has to worry where their next meal is coming from? But there's another thing that's coming down the pike, right? We're going to make a major bet next month on revitalizing middle school sports in Oakland.
Oh, wow.
You know, like sports are super important.
Huge.
In terms of, you know, like the benefits that kids get from participating in youth sports and the joy that comes with that. But for like myriad reasons, sports participation across America, but in Oakland, is plummeting. The cost of youth sports is one of the biggest barriers. Like to be playing travel sports, like with my own kids, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's like
ridiculous.
Right. So if you're a family from if you don't have these resources, you're kind of out of the game. And we don't think that should be the case. Yeah. And that schools should be the place where kids should have access to incredibly high quality programming across a number of different sports and have it be no cost. So we're making a multi-million-dollar bet to get to make sure that every middle school student in Oakland can participate in a variety of youth sports. And if we can do that, for these kids entering their teenage years, it's such an important time to make sure they stay in the game or get in the game versus get out, right? And so we'll be doing that. But there's a whole lot of big fun things that we have planned, but we are not going to rest, until we create sort of equitable futures for this generation of kids.
Well, I love that direction you're going in because there's just so much that it encompasses in terms of sports. It keeps kids out of trouble. I see
exactly.
that, and so when they can participate and feel like they're being successful somewhere, then maybe they'll want to be even more successful in school or when they read or they want to feed their body. I mean, it really feels like the whole thing is just symbiotic.
Totally. And you make sure kids, when they go to sports, are fed.
Yes.
And if kids have a great experience, then attendance rates in the city rise. And when more kids go to school, not only are their outcomes better, but that's more federal funding for the schools so that they can provide more resources. And kids can't play sports until unless they have their grades up.
Right.
And so it provides academic incentives. There's all sorts of things. And then there's that experience of, having passionate, highly trained coaches that they're exposed to. Going back to the conversation we had 5 minutes ago, it's another voice in their life, hopefully someone who can get through to them and inspire them and, show them that they're loved. There's a ton of reasons why we're making this big bet, and we're hopeful.
Yeah, I think you're going to do it. And I would say that the coach is the most important piece of that. That man or woman is who they will look up to sometimes, when they can't look up to their parent or their sibling or, and hopefully their teacher they can. But this safe space you're creating, one more adult who loves them and believes in them is so huge.
Totally. And I'll peel back a little bit. This bet that we're making, a lot of it is to recruit and train coaches, right? And also to increase the stipend that these coaches receive for coaching. Because right now it amounts to a volunteer job.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's whoever we can get. And it's these kids deserve better.
They do.
And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that experience with kids is a fun one. I will say one other thing in terms of what's upcoming. We're going to be announcing this middle school commitment in and around the Oakland Marathon. So Eat, Learn, Play, we've made one strategic impact investment over our 5.5, 6 years. And that was we bought a small stake so that one of our great partners could purchase and operate the Oakland Marathon. Oh. And so we are the strategic partner. We're the charitable beneficiary of the Oakland Marathon. And so every dollar that comes in to benefit the Oakland Marathon, it goes right back out to Oakland students.
Wow, that's
so
brilliant.
it's this cool thing. So how do we create an event that ends up supporting kids? And it's taken off. We'll have 10,000 runners this year. And the other piece is the Raiders left, then the Warriors moved across the bay, and then just recently the A's left. And so you've sports bring some civic pride into a community, and it's fled Oakland. And so our bet with the Oakland Marathon is not just how do we support kids, but how do we create this moment of real civic pride and have this marathon become a world-class event that the city can rally around. And so we do an Eat, Learn, Play kids fun run on Saturday for 1,000 kids. That's awesome. But on Sunday, it's 5K, 10K, half marathon. The money benefits Eat, Learn, Play and the work we're doing in Oakland. So anybody who
heard it.
Who consumes this podcast, come on out, cheer, run, whatever. But it's a great time. Last year we had Stephen and Ayesha surprising runners at the finish line. It's awesome. And so the marathon is right around the corner on March 23rd.
Oh, it's coming up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I'm training.
Are you going to run?
I've run it the last 2 years.
Okay. Sorry.
And I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know why I sounded surprised asking you about running.
I clearly have work to do, but my knees, I don't know. I don't know if I'll run this year. I might give it a try. But anyways, it's so fun.
Okay.
And it's
Sounds fun.
it's right in our backyard. So would love for people to feel like they're welcome and know that they're doing good while
getting exercise.
While getting exercise.
Yes,
exactly.
That's fantastic. Hey friends, it's Melissa. I want to talk to you about something that has been life-changing for me, therapy. I've personally used therapy, and I can tell you firsthand how powerful it is to have someone in your corner guiding you through life's challenges. That's why I'm proud that today's sponsor is BetterHelp, an online therapy service that makes it easy to get the help you or your family needs from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're struggling with stress, anxiety, or just need someone to talk to, BetterHelp is here for you. And for listeners of the Savvy Giving Gal podcast, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy when you use our link in the description. Take that step towards a healthier you because you're worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/savvy to get started today. As our discussion comes to an end, I asked my guests these 3 questions. First, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
I didn't grow up with a lot of self-confidence, right?
Okay.
And so to hear that.
I'm surprised after this conversation. I am very surprised.
Well, my mom will be proud listening to this. But it makes me feel great. Like it makes me feel like I don't put that label on myself. And so, it's when I hear that, it's something I'm proud of, but it is natural for me, right? Like, how can I spend some of the time that I have here, like trying to make life, a little bit better for others? Like, it's really gratifying.
Yeah. I love that because I think everybody should feel what you feel. I can see it in your face, like how much pride and self-esteem and all these things that you know that you have in your job. But it's not just your job. It's like you touch the lives of people every day. And imagine going to work and being able to do that. I mean, that to me is just obviously because that's what I do for work. People don't realize like how much it means to your life, like, and how much it means to other people's lives when you do that. And so it's just, it's really admirable. So,
thank you.
So how do you think helping others positively impacts your mental or emotional or physical health?
Ooh, mental, emotional, and physical.
Yeah.
Not sure it helps my physical health, right? I'm like, I mean, maybe it does. Like there's some endorphins. I think emotionally, it definitely does, right? Like, that feeling of helping others is just, it's a great feeling, right? And so I can put my head to my pillow every night, like feeling pretty good about the work that we're doing. From a mental health perspective, I don't know if it's net positive, net negative, like net neutral. Like I don't know, there's also in this job, like every job, there's responsibilities and there's pressures and there's this like obligation to, like I have the privilege of leading this organization with the Currys and leading an incredible team, and there's stress and pressures that come from that. And so like, I'm not, I've struggled like with some mental health over the last couple of years, like not in ways that I think ultimately is like benefited me, but I wouldn't say working in this line has made my mental health better. It's some of the pressures of the job have actually gotten to me at moments. Yeah.
I mean, you do have a lot of weight on your shoulders in that you have this name that holds so much respect, and you have to cradle it and you have to make sure it stays that way through your organization and all the people that you represent in your organization. So that feels like a lot to me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I do feel like beholden to the Currys, right?
Yes.
Like they've put this amazing trust in me. So how can I deliver that back to them?
Yeah.
Like we have an amazing team at Eat, Learn, Play. Like how can I show up for them, every day, and like that they've given of themselves to be on this journey with us. Like there's pressure there. And then mostly it's, Like it's this generation of kids in Oakland, and like, how can we do everything we can to be a bright spot for them, to give them the resources, the support, the opportunities that they need, that they deserve.
I know. And sometimes it's hard because you can't help every single person. So sometimes that feels overwhelming, I think, to me, when you want to just help everybody, and that's really physically impossible to do.
Say no. Right. And we talked about it a little bit. It's like, say no is an important thing to learn, but it's not easy.
Yes. Yeah. Especially in this job. Can you suggest one small act of kindness our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives?
Yeah, I got a good one.
Okay, good.
So Steph, right? We've talked about how great he is, but one of the things that I think sets him apart, especially because everybody wants something from him or his time, like he is the most present person that I've ever met. Right. And so if he were here talking to you, he would just be locked in. You're the only person that exists. You're the only person in the world. And he's genuinely curious, right? And respectful of others and wants to have those moments. And so like every time I'm with him, like even if it's been weeks since we talked last, it's like, wow, like he is totally locked in and engaged. And that's a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about like a simple gesture, just, putting your phone down, right? Or looking someone in the eye and taking a breath instead of getting your next point out, like that, for me, like that gift of just like pure presence, I think there's something to it. That's my answer.
That's a great one. Even back to the kids and our kids and the parents listening, like teaching them to be more present. And us as adults now with the phones and everything, like just really being there with the person and seeing them is so big.
I love that.
It's just so big.
Yep. Even if they're looking at their phone, I'm gonna be present.
Yeah, they're always looking at their phone. Finally, where can our listeners connect with you and the Eat, Learn, Play Foundation?
Connecting with Eat, Learn, Play is more fun than connecting with me. But like I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me. But Eat, Learn, Play, like we're very active on Instagram because that's where the Currys are most active. You can really get a sense of who we are there. Our website's great, eatlearnplay.org. But we're not hard to find. And we're in Oakland, right? And so if people do want to be a part of this movement and transforming these schoolyards, it's so fun, and we would love to have them. So they can connect with us in person too.
Okay, awesome. I want to leave the listeners with my top 3 takeaways from my chat with Chris today. First, the success of the Eat, Learn, Play Foundation shows that actions, when focused on community, can lead to massive results. Local engagement and targeted initiatives can transform lives, one meal, one book, one playground at a time. Christopher's work with Stephen and Ayesha Curry underscores the power of celebrity in raising awareness and resources for nonprofit causes. But it's not just about the spotlight. It's about using those relationships to bring attention to long-term solutions and systematic change. Lastly, Christopher's focus on raising compassionate, service-minded children is a reminder that philanthropy starts at home. By involving your own kids in giving back, you can instill values of empathy, kindness, and social responsibility that last a lifetime. Teaching children to care and to act can have ripple effects for generations to come. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. This conversation has been awesome.
What a great way to spend a Friday, Melissa. Thank you for having me. Are you kidding?
I loved it. Hey, Savvy listeners. This episode was recorded before the Oakland Marathon, and while the event has already taken place, you can still get involved in Eat, Learn, Play initiatives. I've included links in the show notes so you can find out how you can help make a difference in the lives of Oakland children. And don't forget to mark your calendars for next year's Oakland Marathon. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at SavvyGivingGal. You can also visit my website at SavvyGivingGal.com. Let's spread positivity together.